Hi, what's up, guys? It's good to be back on the show again. My name is Ronald. If you're new here, and this is Behind the Scenes in Health with Dr. Ron. Interestingly, today, I'm not doing any health stuff, I'm not doing any alternative career. I'm going to be talking about the book launch we had recently. So, one of the things I do behind the scenes anyway, apart from doing my 9 to 5 job, doing videos, doing research, is that I write poems, fiction, short stories, recently non-fiction. And interestingly, I got the opportunity to get published, by one of the biggest publishers in the UK, really, Seren Books. And it's an interesting experience for me because I had the opportunity to reflect on my journey so far. And I keep telling people when you travel out, there are a lot of untold stories. I probably should look into having a podcast titled The Untold Stories of Jack Ma and all of that. So some of those stories are, the stories are numerous: issues around getting jobs, issues around getting accommodation, issues around racial discrimination, you know, tons of issues that people face every day. So, and some of us, care to share those stories. We are the only ones qualified to tell those stories. The book came out nicely. We've done the launch. It's in the market. I'm going to be dropping the link to the book in the description here. So please get a copy. It's on Amazon. They can deliver to wherever you are, and read the book. Support what we do as creators or creatives, and you can also let me know what you think in the comment section. So I'm gonna be sharing the video of the book launch where I discuss the process, the impact on me mental health wise, the upsides, the downsides of having this out there in the open. And I hope you enjoy viewing this episode. It's something out of the ordinary of what I do on this channel, but I feel I just want to share with you guys. Writing is therapeutic. It's been proven to, help people, get through issues, get through problems, get through challenges. So it's something I'll also encourage you to take up if you're looking to do that. So happy viewing, and please make sure you buy a copy or tell somebody to buy a copy of the book. All right, happy viewing and bye for now.
Right, everyone. So, thank you all so much for being here. We're going to do the book course. It's fine for you to be having your tea still. It's all good. We had allowed for that. And thank you to Chapter for the amazing food. We've had really good food. Clapping for food is always a good thing, it's the main thing. If you did crappy food, it wouldn't be worth doing it. I also want to give a big out to Joe from PDR, who has arranged amazing food for the lab we're doing this weekend. It's the thing that makes you feel welcome, right? So I hope we've made you feel welcome. So welcome to the book launch of Cymru and I, the book we've done, that Inclusive Journalism Cymru has done with Seren Publishing. And so to kick us off, I'd like to introduce Sarah from Seren.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. So as Sharice mentioned, my name is Sarah, and I'm from the publisher of Cymru and I, Seren, which has come out this week and is on sale for the first time this evening. A little bit of background about who Seren is just before we get going. So Seren was founded in 1981 with the aim of publishing Welsh writers writing in English. Over the last, for over 40 years now, we've been publishing poetry, fiction, non-fiction, and we continue to do so today. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate the launch of Cymru and I. which brings together 9 new writers, each looking at what Wales means to them as people who have been marginalised or excluded from various industries in Wales. The Cymru and I project has been supported by the Books Council of Wales New Audiences Fund, and it came about because Inclusive Journalism Cymru were already planning a writers' development programme. And then we partnered with them as a way of publishing the writing that came out of that aim and that programme. So over the course of the evening, you'll be hearing from many of the contributors. They'll be talking about the process, and then some of them will be sharing their work. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to hand back over to Sharish.
Thanks, Sarah. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank Sarah in particular, actually, and Seren and the Books Council of Wales for making this book possible. I think something that's kind of overlooked is that actually, working with new writers is brilliant, but sometimes trickier and messier and more exciting than working with established authors. I'm really kind of glad that Seren has been able to kind of contribute so much to that process. Lots of organisations, as we talked about, talk a good game when it comes to supporting marginalised voices. Seren have really put their actions where their mouths are, and that is incredibly rare, actually, in this industry. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Seren, for that. We're just incredibly grateful for the genuine commitment, care, and frankly, hard work that they've put into this work. And I really want to recognise that this evening. Secondly, before I introduce the first group of our authors, we're going to be doing basically a little bit of Q&A and then some readings from the book. But I want to put Cymru and I in context. For many of the writers in this collection, this is the first time they've been published. I don't think it's a stretch to say that for a fair few, this was the first time they'd even considered the possibility of being published. And in many ways, that's exactly why we wanted to do it. We know how much talent we have amongst our members, but it's often overlooked, ignored, or misunderstood by the broader industry. And that's why the Books Council's New Audiences Fund and the commitment of publishers like Seren is so important. If I'm honest, though, I'm going to cry. I am going to cry at some points here this evening. If I'm honest, though, in my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined the sheer scale of the talent that would be uncovered in this process. There were some just frankly astonishingly good essays, which I'm so glad you're going to be able to read, that we're able to share with you. And I sincerely hope, and I think know, that this is just going to be the first step of many in glittering writing careers for our authors. And frankly, nothing would make me happier or more proud. So thank you to them for their incredible work. So, without further ado, let's introduce the first. I will say that without further ado after doing like a massive talk. So, totally getting in the way of the message. Let's introduce the first three of our authors who are going to be joining me for a little bit of a Q&A, because we wanted to put the book in context, I say. So, welcome to Debo, Ronald, and Tia. So, do you want to briefly introduce yourselves? Debo, if you want to go first.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Debo, Debo Wale Omole, and I live in Swansea. A father, my wife is here tonight, and I've loved writing for quite a while. I kind of describe myself as an idealist. I would wish the world to be a better place, but of course it's not. So writing is my way of answering that question in my head and documenting my thoughts, really. So that's where I am.
Thank you. Ronald?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ronald Kelechi, a medical doctor, and I used to live in Swansea, but halfway during the project I had to move out because I got a new job. So I write, but I consider myself not a serious writer. because probably maybe I'm looking for somebody to push me to actually put those stories down. And when opportunities like this came up, yeah, it was a perfect platform because there was deadlines and all of that, you know. So yeah, that's a bit about me, and I'm looking forward to more of this, really.
You can no longer say you're not a serious writer. There's a book with your name on it.
Right.
And also, doesn't everyone love a deadline, right? So, Tia.
Hi, thank you all for being here. My name is Tia Zakura Camilleri. I am a Cardiff-based creative. I write, but mostly creatively, so poetry, theatre, and yeah, this is my first time writing kind of a long-form essay, and I'm just really excited to share about the process.
Yeah, well, let's start with you, Tia. So, I mean, I suppose to start off with, do you want to tell us a bit about your chapter? And I guess I'd be really interested to know, what was the thing that drew you to telling your particular story?
Yeah, I mean, to sum up the chapter, it touches on a lot of topics. It's essentially a story about a daughter and her father that go on this journey, this real life story of climbing the Welsh Three Peaks, Penyvan, Cadair Idris and Snowdon. And it's telling two stories at the same time, the real life story in real time about, going to each peak and how that is. But whilst doing all of that, it's reliving the conversations that me and my dad had on those mountains about a lot about race, politics, about language is a big thing. We talk about mental health and kind of how my initial reaction when my dad asked me, I'm going to be completely honest, to climb the mountains, I was like, nah, like, we don't do that. I genuinely thought it was like a white people thing. Like, that's me being honest. Like, I didn't really think it was for us. And then, we did it, and it became a part of like our bond and our life essentially. And we climb Penyvan every month. And yeah, it's something that's been really important. And what drew me actually to writing this story, when I was applying for it, I just came off the back of an exhibition I did in the Wales Millennium Centre called Clean Slate, which was exposing, the slate industry and its connections to sugar plantations and etc. So I focused a lot on Welsh identity, but the distance between my identity and the label of being Welsh, and I was talking about why I feel distant towards that. But when I was writing for Cymru and I, it forced me to look at it as like an entity, because it was Cymru and I, literally the title just spoke to me, and I was like, kind of thought, when have I felt at one with Cymru, with Wales? And it was standing almost dramatically at the top of Penyvan and looking out and being like, oh wow, like I feel really grounded here, and it's one of the first times that I had that feeling. So yeah, that's it. Really, the title, it kind of just made me want to tell this story, and I thought it was a good avenue to kind of talk about all my experiences in Wales as well.
Thanks, Steve. Dad, do you want to stand up? Yeah, you're the star of the show. I thought that was important. Ronald, how about you? Could you just tell us a bit about your chapter?
Well, my chapter is titled In a New Land, and I came into Swansea 2021 for a postgraduate degree, and I mean, this is my first time of actually leaving my country for this extended period of time. So most times you just breeze in for holidays, stay 1 week, 2 weeks, and you're back to where you're coming from. So it was a different whole experience, because I mean, you're settling into the community, you're going to meet people, you're dealing with culture shock. Every time I keep looking at what's happening here, I'm comparing to what's happening where I'm coming from, like, this doesn't look like, and all of that. And on the same time, a lot of people in my community, people were complaining, settling down as a migrant and all of that. So, I mean, it was my own opportunity of sharing the story, because it's something I feel a lot of us can really relate to, coming as a migrant, settling into a community and all of that. And I think I had a lot of more positive experiences than negative experiences living in Wales when compared to the stories I hear from other parts of the UK. So I just felt it was a perfect opportunity to, talk about my feelings, the way I feel about, coming into this place, being accepted. And yeah, it was good. Again, maybe on the downside too, some sort of therapy for the bad parts I experienced, So it was a win-win situation really for me.
Thank you so much. And Debo, yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about your chapter and what it meant to you? And I want to start by saying, Debo's was maybe the first submission I read, like just for the application. And I was sitting in bed and had a big cry. And I gave it to my wife, and she had a big cry. And like, I think that's a response that's kind of happened quite a lot across quite a lot of them. So that meant a lot to me as well. So, Debo.
Yeah, thank you. My my chapter is titled "Scars, Not With Any Dream," and when I had this opportunity, really, it was it coincided with the time when I just had my indefinite leave to remain in the UK, and at that point in time, it felt like I was just handed the keys to a house I didn't have permission to live in all this while. So the title essentially kind of more or less tries to capture living in a house, has issues, but, trying to understand what that means to you. And my story essentially captures my mental struggles as a father with kids born in the UK, and how I would navigate helping them understand their unique identity. So yeah, it talks about different major incidents in my life from when I got to Swansea up to that point when I had my freedom, so to say, quote and unquote, to stay here. So that's what my chapter is about, really.
And I'm going to go back down the row again, so I'll start with you again, Debo. So thinking about the process of writing your chapter, what would you say was the best thing? And what would you say, I don't want to say the worst, at least the most difficult bit of it for you?
The best part was that I felt like I got stuff out of my head, and I could finally, well, I don't know if it makes sense, but I could finally make sense of the tune in my head that only I could dance to. So that felt good, that I could put it on paper and give it some life, so to say. The difficult part was having to relive those moments that I found traumatizing at the time. That was really difficult and challenging, and I wasn't sure if I should put that down. But at the end of the day, I think, yeah, once it's out there on paper, you kind of can come to that place where you are kind of at peace with yourself, if you like, because it's giving me the opportunity to understand some question I've been asking and live in the head of other characters within that story to try and, like, okay, did they really mean it this way? It gave me the opportunity just to be a lot more objective and understanding of people around me, really.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Ronald, like what was the best bit and what was the most difficult bit?
So in terms of the best parts, just like what Debo said, I think it was some form of therapy for me because, now putting my doctor hat on, when, experiences happen to people, bad experience, naturally we just want to repress those, things that happen and push them by the corner. But they never really leave, beginning to write about those, encounters, brought all those things back to the surface. And at some point I was like, should I really, am I mentally strong to like see this to the end? But I mean, it's a story and it has to be told. So I just kept on, pushing through it. And by the time I was done, when they kept sending the scripts back, I really didn't want to read, keep reading the story all over and all of that. So, but it was like some form of therapy for me. Then the best parts, which one did I talk about now? Yeah, okay, that's the bad part. The best part was, I think it gave me some form of discipline, right? If I said I'm not a very serious writer, So somehow now, I've sort of gained some clarity as to how to write. And I was just relating to her. I actually have a story I'm working on now. It's up to 65,000 words. So I sort of write every day, even if it's 100 words. So I think that's one of the best things I've gained from this experience so far.
Incredible. And what I love is that, a few of the writers, they're carrying on writing. They're like it's been the start of something. Tia, same question to you. Best bit and the worst bit.
I think 65,000 is serious writing.
Yeah, that's serious writing.
Yes, the best part for me was writing without fear. I think I've never been one to kind of shy away or dilute what I want to say, but when I've written before, there's always maybe been that question of like, oh, can I say this? Or are they gonna feel like I'm attacking them, There's a poem that I put in this, my chapter that every time I've performed it, it's about Welsh identity. There's been someone, there's been someone who's been like not happy about it or been like, you can't say that, or that's not, do you know what I mean? But because of the nature of the commission and inclusive journalism and Seren books, I knew that they wanted to hear those silenced voices, and I could say the things that people might say is taboo or controversial, and maybe they're a bit contentious, but I wrote like without having to question myself, that am I allowed to say this? And it was really nice. Yes, it was a form of therapy, but yeah, it was more just having that freedom and trust, I think, I was 18, like never been published really before, so I felt really trusted. And then because it was my first time, that also brought a lot of issues as well. I'd say obstacles. So, like I said, it's telling two stories simultaneously. And I feel so sorry for whoever edited my work because the tenses were just not making sense. Like every note on that Google Doc was like, what tense are we in? Because it's in the past, but it's also the present. And I think that was difficult to make that clear, and also making it cohesive, because one thing we learned in the masterclass was like every paragraph should be like its own little story, but it should all make sense together as well. And writing something of this length and kind of making it a cohesive, clear piece was quite difficult, but I think with the help, I hope that it was, I got over it, and it ended up being something I'm quite proud of.
Well, you should be proud of it. And there's a couple of things I wanted to pick up on that. Firstly, we've talked about this before, is like the sort of self-censorship that goes on when you're writing for people that maybe aren't going to get it. And we really hope, we're really glad that we could provide that for you. And secondly, on the editing front, I do want to really thank Emily and Cyril, who edited the book and can't be here tonight. So, I know all the authors here will really recognise the kind of work they've done on that, so thank you for that. So, right, so I'm going to start with you again, Tia, come back down. As a published writer now, what one piece of advice would you give to someone starting out, someone who really wants to write?
Well, if someone's just starting out writing, I'd always advise them to just go for it, free write, and don't feel like constraint in the format. But if it's talking about like publishing, I think the one advice I'd give is like, don't rush anything. Like when I was writing this, there was one paragraph that I was pondering, I was procrastinating for ages, and then the deadline was here, and I was like, okay, I just got to get something down, and I wrote it, and I read it the next day. I thought, Tia, you just messed this up. Like, you just ruined the whole thing. Dramatic, of course. But because it didn't communicate what I wanted to communicate, it wasn't a good reflection of my writing, and I just remember, luckily, there was like a last minute time for me to kind of edit it a little bit and salvage it, and I did, but someone who doesn't know who I am, when they pick up that book and they see my name and they read what I've written, that's like their first introduction to you as a writer. Like technically, because it's such a personal story, I've put my life on that page, I put my mind on that page, my morals on that page, so I need it to be very, you want it to be very intentional and considered what you're writing, and you don't want to just write for the sake of it. If I didn't really feel like I had a fire and a passion to say something, I wouldn't have applied, because, you know, you don't want to just write to write, like you want it to actually mean something. Write to write in your free time, but if you're publishing it and this is going out to the world, I would advise to just make sure you're very intentional about what you're writing, because people will see that, and that they'll know who I am by reading what I've written, trust me.
Okay. I should remember, I just want to say hello to everyone who's watching online on AM and on Zoom. It's really, thank you to AM for live streaming this to their platform, and yeah, we're really glad that people can join who aren't here tonight. Ron, the same question to you. As a serious writer now, what advice would you give to other serious writers?
I'll probably say just start, really, because I mean, a lot of us have these stories to tell, but either you need a push from somebody or some sort of motivation to just get started. But I would say just start, and because looking back at what we've done here, while I struggled to squeeze that story into 7,000 words. Because when I started, I was like, this is beyond 7,000. I think I got up to 13,000. I didn't know I'd even crossed the, word count. I had to start cutting down to 7,000. So, I mean, just start writing. The ideas come. Now I've got other stories I think I want to flesh out from some of the experiences I've recounted. So I have a draft somewhere, hoping that one day we'll keep publishing more books. So, I mean, just start really, and don't think about the publishing part really. I think that's what probably holds a lot of people down. I mean, just get the stories out there. When the opportunities come, then you really have something to show people that, yes, this is what I've written. So I think I've taken that lesson and I'm applying it to myself now. So just start.
Just start, really good. Yeah, Debo?
Before I start, I'd like to thank my wife who's here, who kind of endured all my eccentricities while I was writing. And she really did encourage me to not be afraid of putting those stories down. So for anybody thinking about writing or who wants to write really, there's a Nigerian author, Chimamanda Adichie, who did say something about until the day the lion learns how to write, the story of the hunter will always be the truth, and there are stories within you that only you are uniquely qualified and able to write. So if you do want to write and you have a story to write, write it. It's your story, it's your voice, and it deserves to be heard. Yeah.
I'm definitely going. So, finally, which is good for me, so thinking about, I'm going to go back down again, so I'll start with you, Debo. Thinking about what's changed for you as a result of being part of this project, what has this meant for you on a personal level, and I guess where do you want to go next?
Well, it just feels surreal to today, to be able to see your name behind the book, and personally for me, I think I feel a lot braver now. I'm somebody who finds it a lot more difficult to communicate verbally. I find it easier to write and to express myself in writing. So this has been very eye-opening, educative, and empowering for me. The comments and feedback and inputs from the IJC team has been very supportive and very encouraging, really. And I don't think I'd stop writing at this point now. So there's a lot more stories to write. A lot more people out there that I'd like to help as well to bring their stories to life. And I guess I'll be going on that way, writing both fictional and non-fictional stories. So definitely, I'll be writing a lot more.
I, for one, am glad of that. Ron, for you, yeah, the personal level?
Well, for me, I feel very fulfilled, because, when the post came out for people to send in the first initial draft of what your story is supposed to tell and all of that, I was quite hesitant, because in the past I've been, trying my hands, sending work to publishers. Nobody takes a chance on you until you're popular. But how do you get popular if nobody takes a chance on you? After a while, I gave up. I was like, should I really do this? But I just sent it in, and they said that's fine. You can submit your work and all of that. So finally, seeing this out now, and my name on the front cover instead of the back, anyway. I feel fulfilled, and going forward, I just hope that. I would like to continue writing, by the side, and I feel more publishers should feel free to take a chance on some of us who are not known out there, because people just keep looking at the big names and all of that. So if they will take a chance on writers like us, then I think we'll probably be more fulfilled and happy.
Thank you. And Tia, for you?
I think definitely emulating what you've both said, it does instill a confidence, I had a goal, I wanted to be published by 18 and, narrowly made it, but literally a few months ago, but that is on a personal level, it felt really accomplishing, and I think what it's done as well, which I don't think I realised that it did, I think I wrote down a lot of stuff, even though this is all conversations that I had with my dad. I think that I wrote a lot of stuff that we didn't talk about as well, and was able to kind of speak my truth as well and pay a bit of a tribute to him and how he really equipped me with the tools to be a black woman in Wales. So it's felt really good in that sense as well, and made me feel more connected. And then I think to come next, I'm going to make a documentary about this. But I remember we spoke about it a while back, and we were like, how sick would it be if we got someone to come and film? We do 5-part, and now we do the UK 5 peaks, and you get to see 2 black Welsh climbers, and obviously that's big goals, but I think that would be proper sick if we was able to do that. But in terms of writing, I want to continue maybe going more down playwriting and being able to merge the creative writing and journalistic writing in this has definitely helped me prepare for how I'd want to write plays in the future. So there's definitely more to come from that, and I'm just really looking forward to all the writers' journeys, and seeing where we all go next, because I can tell you some big things will happen.
So, in a second, we're going to have some readings from some of the other writers, so we're going to invite them up in a second. But just to say, grab your little headsets, because Sylvia, who's going to be introducing them, is going to be speaking in Welsh. So, should all have headsets on your desks and stuff. But for now, thank you, Tia, Debo, and Ronald.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're amazing.
I use this one. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so we got you. Oh, is Mo here? Is Mo here? And Beth. Yeah, so it's you first, and then me, and then Mo. So you'll go second. Yeah. Okay. And Mo. Okay. Diolch pawb. Mae'n wych clywed mwy am cefndir traethodau a faint mae'r cyfle yma wedi meddwl i'r awduron. Rwan, awn ni glywed gan rai o'r awduron eraill fydd yn darllen i chi heno. Ein awdur cyntaf fydd Gosia Buzanka. Mae Gosia yn awdur sy'n gweithio ar draws genres i greu darnau o waith gyda themau mamolaeth, plentyndod, dosbarth, atgofion a pherthyn. Cafodd ei dewis yn ddiweddar gan Llenyddiaeth Cymru i fod yn rhan o gwrs ail ysgrifennu Cymru ac mae ei gofiant ar fi'n cael ei gyhoeddi. Yn ei thraethawd, roedd Gosia eisiau archwilio'r syniad o gartref, iaith a chof. Mae cael ei magu yng Ngwlad Pwyl a symud i Gymru wedi ystumio ei syniad o beth yw cartref. Okay, Gosia, over to you.
Diolch, thank you. Thank you all for coming. My piece is called Concatenation. Where I belong is of no concern if I belong with myself. Candice Chauvin Walker. Invocation. I wake my son up one morning in late March and complain of the rain. It's hitting the window horizontally. The skies are the color of old puddles. The trees are still bare and I'm dreading the school run. You live in Wales, Mama. He wipes the sleep from his eyes. Why are you still surprised? The rain is the Welsh national weather. Neither of my children are particularly bothered by rain. When it's time to go, they both stomp about in it happily, hands in the pockets of their coats, with the hoods ever blowing from their heads, all the way to school. They're silent and determined, fully accepting. I'm the one that's uncomfortable, never wearing the right number of layers, and as a result, either sweating or shivering, with shoes that leak, mascara sliding down my cheeks by the time we enter the alleyway at the bottom of our street. When I first arrived in Wales, it was winter, a mild February in 2005, and I wasn't yet 16. I don't remember much of the journey. I think one of my brothers who lived in Cardiff then bought me a ticket, and I guess I arrived by coach, a little over 20-hour drive from Poland. The final stop was outside the museum. What I remember of that first time was the darkness of the evening and the way it was illuminated by thousands of lights, as if a glistening reflection of the many lives. Back at home, I used to stay in after dark. There was nowhere to go. I remember getting my bearings quickly and following the pavements from memory, navigating between corner shops and my brother's house at Keppel Street in the city centre. I went to a shoe shop and bought a pair of red pattern ballet shoes. My feet in these shoes, beating the uneven pavements to the rhythm of Mike Skinner's voice, sipping from the headphones, this was the future for me. The world smelled like cumin, smoke and lager that seeped into the soggy carpets in the Prince of Wales pub. I started rolling cigarettes on that trip, and the combination of licorice papers and green golden Virginia was my signature for years to come. Returning to Poland after a fortnight was painful. The soil was frozen deep. The snow kept falling and melting and falling some more. It was too cold and too dark to hang out. I soon enough ran out of tobacco and had to switch back to mentals. I would bang on about Wales to everyone who would listen, and I would list things that were more superior there than they were in Poland. The mildness of the weather, the bread, perhaps this was the most controversial, as the sort of Polish bakeries universally praised over the thick white toasty. the people who are smiling and talking to each other, the culture. People nodded aimlessly, eager for me to stop talking, obviously pitying my obsession. Did I ever tell you that the stars seem to be closer to the earth in Cardiff?
Waw. Am geiriau hyfryd, diolch Gosha.
Diolch.
Fyny nesa yw Bethany Macaulay. Wedi graddio'n diweddar, mae Bethany bellach yn gwerthu llyfrau yn Llundain. Cyn hynny, nath hi cael ei magu yng Ngogledd Ddwyrain Cymru yn nhref arfordirol yr Rhyl. Dyma yw ei ymdrech cyntaf ym maes ffeithiol newyddiadurol, ond mae hi wedi ysgrifennu sawl drama ac wedi hunan gyhoeddi 2 gasgliad o ffotograffiaeth a barddoniaeth. Mae treithawr Bethany yn archwilio ffenomenon y dref wyliau glan y môr yng Nghymru ac yn gofyn sut gall trefi fel y rhain bodoli mewn Cymru newydd a allai fod yn annibynnol. Thanks, Bethany.
Diolch yn fawr. My chapter is called Vague Shapes Inland. Finally embracing being from Rhyl, or at least accepting it as a fact of my existence, felt irreconcilable with the further attribution of being Welsh. The scaffolds of Rhyl's socio-cultural qualities seem to be comprised of Northern English imports. Unsurprising, for a town positioned on the literal and figurative edge, where Welsh language and customs aren't prominently practiced, and Liverpool's red dog lights are always blistering through coastal mist. What are somewhat reductively believed to be the tenets of Welsh identity are inaccessible, dysmorphic, reserved for the ostensibly Welsher communities, and whether due to geographical proximity, ancestral inheritance, or class solidarity, Rhyl continues to reach further afield for opportunities to belong and mutually identify with something beyond itself. This complicates the town's connection with its intrinsic Welshness, and certainly inhibited me from actually comprehending that I was Welsh at all, due to the long-perceived foreignness of my own country. But Rhyl, of course, is Welsh, and cannot substantiate a claim to Englishness, regardless of its use in supplementing a deficiency in its connection to a wider Wales. I eventually discovered that being Welsh is an easier claim once I was outside Wales, where it became an uncommon attribute noted by others who were unaware of the nuanced exclusivity of Welshness. This was a useful means of identification because I have always been and remain inconspicuously Welsh. There is little detectable in my accent, disposition, or appearance, and I continue to be confronted with responses of utter, if histrionic, incredulity whenever an acquaintance discovers I'm originally from a country that neighbours the one I now reside in. Yet, such an assertion of my Welshness has never been prolongedly subject to scepticism, as it was in my own self-evaluations, or occasionally in Wales itself. Therefore, being removed from my native country, and thus the complexities and mythologies of its character, provoked me to re-evaluate any preconceptions I held towards my national identity. It must have been inadvertently impressed upon me, likely by the estrangement Rhyl seems to encounter from other North Welsh communities, that Welshness was something to be earned. And, in being from Rhyl, a town that has ostensibly long dispossessed itself of the cornerstones of Welsh culture and heritage, I was yet to earn it. When a country such as Wales suffers extensive threats to its autonomy and individuality, a firm and preserving grasp on what ensures and evolves, in spite of the erasing forces of colonialism, can be fortifying. Such nebulous concepts like culture and tradition may celebrate heritage and ensure the continuation of community, but can equally be so essentialist and circumscribed as to be exclusionary. As it pertains to Rhyl, such an experience of exclusion arguably derives from class-oriented stigma, though it is undoubtedly peculiar that such could occur within a country where working-class experiences constitute much of its modern history, and its pride and its selfhood. Rhyl largely fails by virtue of its loyalty to a tourist economy, cultural infidelity, and quasi-metropolitan aspirations to replicate more traditionalistic frameworks. Its working class is thus widely vilified, drastically incongruous to the archetypes denotive of an ancestral, pastoral, quintessential Welshness. What is incubated in the heart of Welsh pride is something staunchly romantic and retrospective. The consummative image it conjured is one of respectable, rural hard workers, almost hermetically nestled in the valley's creases, resistant to foreign influence, embalmed in an illusorily pre-colonial tradition. It is to this that the national imagination attributes true Welshness. But can such an image be paralleled with living evidence, or are they the residual spectres of past centuries? Of course, this traditionalistic Welsh identity, beyond being archaic, increasingly reveals itself as unrepresentative of many individuals' realities. The preservation of native customs and language may be considered imperative to a nation's sense of uniqueness, but it is a dangerous thing to acquiesce to history's demands of fidelity, to be unable to see what beyond stood firm in the past. If such a prescribed Welsh identity is incompatible with the individual's experience of their nationhood, if customs aren't practiced and Welsh is unknown and unspoken, it can inhibit engagement with Wales in its entirety, without one feeling fraudulent and intrusive.
Diolch Beth, oedd hynna'n wych, mor diddorol. Diolch. I orffen, dyma Mo Jana. Oedd Mo yn gweithio gyda throseddwyr ifanc a gwasanaethau ieuenctid cyn iddo fo newid I fod ar y teledu. Wrth iddo fentro i'r byd llenyddol, mae Mo yn teimlo'n gyffrous am y heriau newydd sy'n ei disgwyl a'r cyfle I barhau I adrodd straeon mewn ffyrdd newydd a chreadigol. Yn ei dreithawd, mae Mo yn archwilio ac yn dathlu hunaniaeth Cymreig. Mae o eisiau archwilio threftadaeth ddiwylliannol gyfoethog Cymru trwy straeon pobl sydd wedi cael profiadau amrywiol. Here you go, Mo.
Is it me then?
It's you.
Fantastic, I'm ready. Just first and foremost, I wanted to say a big thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity. I still feel like a slight imposter syndrome, especially hearing these guys as well. You guys were amazing. So they're proper authors, so here's my little rendition anyway. So my essay is called Global Wales. Let me begin. In this essay, I will explore the fluidity of identity within a Welsh context. I will examine its rich cultural heritage through the stories of those who have descended from this multicultural legacy. This essay will argue for a nuanced and multifaceted approach to identity that goes beyond simple physical characteristics and recognizes the complex and fluid nature of self. In 1750, the population of Wales was 450,000. By 1921, that figure had more than quadrupled to mind-boggling over 2,656,000. No other region in the Western Hemisphere would experience such intensive migration during this period as Wales. The early 18th century invention of the steam engine was the beginning of a chain of events that would have global ramifications. It would be the introduction of the steam engine that will alter the nature of long-distance seafaring, and sow the seeds of change that will ultimately transform the face of Wales forever. The coal produced in the 20 narrow valleys of South Wales will go on to fuel the Industrial Revolution. Endless fleets of cargo ships carrying coal and iron left the ports, bound for foreign destinations, to meet the growing global demand for Welsh coal. Sailors from across Britain's Commonwealth Empire were the unsung heroes of the early steamships. They were the stokers, the firemen, and the trimmers, tasked with shoveling coal in intense heat over incredible distances. Many of these early communities decided to stay and settle down and start families with local women. These ethnically mixed relationships sowed the seeds for a rich fusion of cultures, religions, and traditions that transformed 19th century Wales into one of the most cosmopolitan places in the world. Over time, many of these earlier diaspora communities assimilated into the mainstream indigenous populations. However ambiguous, the remnants of this early interaction can be traced to families and communities across Wales. Unfortunately, this chapter of Welsh and global history is in danger of fading from national consciousness. One of the main problems with viewing identity and nationhood through ethnic lines is that it implies biological or genetic basis for ethnicity. However, research has shown that there is no such thing as a pure ethnic group. The concept that we are made up of different races, the concept that we're made up of different races is arbitrary and socially constructed concept rather than a scientifically sound one. It does not reflect the dynamic and fluid nature of human identity, and in this instance, the diversity that has shaped modern day Wales. On a personal level, the exploration of identity has always held a profound fascination to me. Growing up as a minority in a polarized society, I was naturally inclined to delve into the depth of my own identity. Initially, I discovered that my own identity was primarily shaped by my family upbringing, the neighborhood I lived in, and the influences from my peers, and the social stereotypes that surrounded me. However, this couldn't satisfy my young and inquisitive mind. In my quest for a deeper understanding of who I am, I turned to genealogy as a way to unearth the secrets of my ancestral past. Through this exploration, I discovered a rich and diverse multi-ethnic heritage that lay dormant within my lineage. This revelation only fueled my fascination further as I realized the intricate tapestry of cultures and ethnicities that have converged to shape my present existence. In the case of my children, a fascinating tapestry of heritage emerges, intricately woven through their DNA, which can be traced back to diverse corners of the world. Through their mother's lineage, their roots extend far and wide, encompassing Malaysia, Yemen, Nigeria, Sweden, France, and Ireland. As I pause to contemplate the vast array of ethnicities that intermingle within the essence of my children's existence, a profound sense of awe and wonder overtakes me. The term global citizen springs to mind, perfectly in capturing the richness and interconnectedness of their multicultural backgrounds. This realization has opened my eyes to the interconnectedness of humanity, highlighting the intricate threads that bind us together despite our apparent differences. As I continue to ponder the multifaceted nature of identity, I cannot help but be humbled by the profound diversity that exists within our global society. It is a reminder that our identities are not isolated islands, but rather interwoven strands that can contribute to a far broader and complex human tapestry. Thank you.
Hyfryd, diolch o galon Mo. A diolch I pawb am rannu eich geiriau heno. Dwi'n siŵr bydd y cynulleidfa yn cytuno fod hyn wedi bod yn noson arbennig iawn. Diolch.
So if you're seeing me, if you're listening to me now, that means you actually sat back and watched all through to the end of the video, and I'm really grateful and appreciative for that. So let me know what you think in the comment section, and please don't leave without ordering a copy of the book from Amazon or Seren Books, because the links are in the description. So until I see you guys next episode, I would just say start writing, and probably looking forward to collaborating with somebody or reading your work out there, right? So till next episode, I still remain your host, Dr. Ron, and bye for now.